Okay, Gustavo, welcome. Welcome to our first fireside session. And as one of our top 28 top supply chain executives in Europe, and I believe you are number 13, and the second year that you are on the list, I'm very happy to have you here on this video interview. And I hope that the viewers also will enjoy the conversation that we have. So often I use the scope and impact phrase to get an idea of somebody's responsibility. So can you give me a little bit more information about your scope and your impact and the team of your supply chain group that you have on KraftHeinz?
Yes, absolutely. So first of all, thanks a lot, Edwin. Thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here talking to you, and thanks for the ranking. Very humble and honored to be part of such a ranking, considering the peer group and colleagues that we have there. So very happy. Today I lead the KraftHeinz end-to-end supply chain operations for international. International encompasses Europe, Middle East, Africa, Latin America, and Asia Pacific. And when we say operations, for us, it's truly the end-to-end from sourcing to distribution. Have 13,000 people, 40 factories. It's a cost base of $4.2 billion across 26 different geographies worldwide. I mean, not worldwide, but in international, which is quite challenging and quite amazing how much food we supply every year to different populations and making sure that we delight customers all over the place. So it's a pretty fun scope, I'll say.
Exactly, I can believe so. And the impact that you have, of course, you have a cost base, but most likely you have also an impact on the positive side besides supplying food to a lot of people. So what do you think if you ask people in KraftHeinz, what is the positive impact of the supply chain organization?
I think, first of all, I used to say that supply chain is where the magic happens, right? It's where people come with the great ideas and inspirations from marketing and from the consumers, and we translate that into the reality, and we deliver to customers and clients all over the places with quality, which is the most important thing. And in a way, moving very fast, being environmentally friendly. So I think our contribution to the planet is increasingly every year, and I'm very proud of this agenda as well. So it's a transformation business. We transform dreams into the reality of our consumers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So if you look a little bit to leadership style and talent development, so can you describe a little bit about your leadership style? And if so, did it change over time?
Yes, it does. I mean, leadership is a constant evolution, right? It's a journey it's a learning process. It's a learning journey. And it's very exciting because at the end of the day, it's how, in my view, it's how you empower people to be the best of themselves. At the end of the day, that's what counts. You create an environment of trust where people can operate safely, where mistakes are welcome, that they have a common understanding of the goal and the direction, but they have the freedom to operate and to be the best of versions of themselves. And this is a learning process. Leadership, you evolve every day. We are complex animals as human beings, and that's the most exciting part of the journey, actually. And the privilege to lead is something that is truly amazing.
So if you look back, let's say 10 years ago, are there things that you did at that time that you should not do anymore? That you say, okay, this is something I did when I was a young guy, and I see young people still doing that kind of activities on leadership, which I try to avoid nowadays.
For sure. There are many mistakes, and I think as I said, it's an evolution process. I think the biggest learning, or the thing that I wouldn't do, and I learned a lot with that, is the journey needs to be way more fun than the destination. I think certain point in time in my career, I spent way too much time with the ambition to be something or to have something, And actually, I didn't pay too much attention, or I didn't dedicate myself too much time to enjoy and to have happiness and joy throughout the learning process. And that's what counts at the end. I think the true asset and the only thing that you can capitalize over time is your knowledge. It's not your position, it's not your money, but everything that you learn and people that you impact. So I would, if I could come back, I would have spent way more time, not way more time, but more time on the journey itself. I think that the dream and the ambition is good. It sets the right direction, but enjoy the ride. I think that's the spirit.
Well, I agree with you. You know, we look sometimes too far ahead while we forget that we live today and do things today. And the other thing is that like you said, if you impact other people's life, they will stay in your network forever. In a positive way, if you impact them in a positive way. So that's also very valuable, you know, to evolve as a leader and to have impact on people over years. That's an interesting part. But probably that is something that we get during, you know, getting age and getting older. That is something we start to value more and more. So if you look back to the early days, did you have a mentor or a role model that you said, okay, this is somebody or some person that I learned a lot from over the years and that had a good impact on my leadership style?
I do, and I do have today. There are a couple of people, a handful of people that I constantly talk to. I share my personal dreams. I share my issues. I learn from them, and they help me. They have been helping me for many years. And there are people that either they've been in the leadership. I've been working with them. They've been my leaders in the past, or they were part of a network. For whatever reason, I had them as role models. And throughout this journey in supply chain, one thing from a functional standpoint, I always try to have one person as a reference in one specific thing in that function. Not necessarily this person is my personal mentor or a person that I have a contact with today, but throughout this journey helped me a lot to observe behaviors and skill set that will set this person apart from the others, and I could mirror myself against and say, wow, this is great. But today I have a handful of people that I constantly talk, and they help me a lot. Actually, I think it's great for you to count on individuals that truly care about you, and they can help you throughout this journey. And this is amazing.
Yeah, and if you look in the past, so 20 years ago, when you were a young guy starting your working life, that generally the 1, 2 people that you come across that well, let's say pivotal for your career and brought you in the right place and learned you the right things.
Yeah, look, I came from, my background is a family of entrepreneurs. My mother and my uncle, they founded a very big company. Today, they are no longer the owners of the company, but I've been immersed in this corporate environment since a very young age. And my parents, both of them, they had an instrumental role in who I am as an individual today, and helped me guiding through this, the right values throughout my journey. I think the two that I could reference, they have been always very present on the achievements, on the mistakes, course correcting, helping, and guiding throughout this journey. So, and having the experience and the opportunity to be part of a family business since very young helped me a lot to understand the right and to set the right values and to understand relationships and this thing. So my parents are definitely the ones that I would call out as the big references I have.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Yeah. So if you look nowadays, we are in challenging times. So how do you create and maintain a high performance and specifically a resilient supply chain team, which is inspired to do their things every day, every other day?
Look, Edwin, I think it's back to the point that I mentioned. It's to create a safe environment where people can trust each other. For me, this is the most important thing. And if there is one lesson I learned out of this pandemic, exactly 1 year ago, the position that we were where we are now as a group of supply chain leaders across the organization, I think the biggest evolution we had was trusting each other and operating in a sense of common goal. Look at the results of KraftHeinz, especially in the international. We have produced, shipped, and delivered 25% more volume than we expected, using the same network, the same number of assets, having the same issues that we had before, with the same people. If you ask me, did you have a magic pill or a silver bullet that you're able to pull the trigger and change completely? No, the answer was no. I think what made the difference for us was exactly the fact that people got together. We create an environment, myself and my leadership team, an environment of trust, delegating and empowering them to take decisions, learning from the mistakes, but ultimately working together in a collaborative mode. And collaboration is not necessarily agreement. It's not a democratic approach where people need to agree to each other. It's agree to disagree is part of the game. But at the end of the day, they had that very same common purpose behind. And I think that's what made the difference. There was no substantial process improvement or technology that brought us today where we were a year ago. So I think this connects well with your question, how to create a leadership, a resilient team, bring the best people, put them to work together in a very diverse environment, and create a place where they feel safe and they trust each other. The rest will come. The rest will come.
But we were talking about that already before. Is it then very important that you are there every day, visible for everybody, approachable for everybody, as a, let's say, facilitator of the process?
I think not every day. I mean, leadership, the leadership by example is not by showing your face off to the people every day, but making sure that your actions and decisions, they perpetuate in the company in a way where people see the clear direction and can connect the speech with the action. Indeed, in the beginning of the pandemic, I was much more helping to operate the business, very close contact with the plant managers, with the distribution centers, but in a position to help, not in a position to control them. Never in a position to control and ask what they were doing, but I put myself and my leadership team 100% available to help, and making sure that whatever they asked, to the extent of possible, we will do it, because we knew that there, where the things were happening, they need that to happen. So I think it's not about the visual itself, but about making sure that you can clearly create this environment where they can ask for help, and you put yourself in a position to truly help and connect with the other functions and remove the obstacles and make the alignments and put them, I would say, hassle-free to operate. Yeah, I think that was a game changer.
But is that then also part of your role to get into, let's say, other departments like marketing and sales or finance to let's say pave the way for your team that not many disturbances are coming from there, and if the disturbances come from there, it's manageable? Is
Absolutely.
that more your role? Yeah.
It's a lot of my role, and this is what I mean by the collaboration. Supply chain is no longer, has never been, at least, and hopefully will never be a silo. We need to collaborate. We need to understand each other, and sometimes quick conversations with different people in different functions can make life very easy to everyone. So yes, my role is to pave the way for them to operate, and that implies a lot of collaboration and communication across function in different geographies. Yeah, this is an integral part of the role.
Yeah. So if you look for today's and future supply chain leaders, what do you think are the key attributes? And also when you look to the last year, 2020, and now, Are there changes on, let's say, education or experiences, or let's say if you make a job description, you put the nice to haves and the must haves. So what are the key attributes for a supply chain leader for today and the future?
I wouldn't put specifically for supply chain. Of course, there is a certain technical background that helps a lot, but at the end of the day, it's all about attitude, bias for change, collaboration, and agreeing. And again, it doesn't mean that you need to agree all the time, but you need to understand how this network of collaboration works, and the passion. When you put passion and you put everything, I think it's much more about the attitudes and let's put it this way, the soft elements as opposed to the hard ones. I rarely hire someone because they had a degree in whatever institution. I hire what they are willing to accomplish, and I think this makes a ton of difference. The rest we can teach, the rest we train, the rest we invest on the people. But I think this attitude and especially in today's different world, I mean, if you are not willing to change and you don't have the bias for the different things and transformation, it's going to be very complicated. At the same time, the resilience, right? Because there's more frustration in the system than before. So I think it's important to have a bit of resilience throughout the journey as well.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. Sometimes I have the discussion with academics to say, okay, if you do a supply chain master course, bring more soft leadership skills or psychology or organizational type of parts in the curriculum, because that will help, let's say, future leaders, besides their technical knowledge, which they need to have at a certain degree, but that you can learn. But that's definitely a thing. So if you, and I know you did earlier, I think late last year, you did a small speech or a good speech in Spain for also online for graduates. So what kind of advice would you give graduates or young professionals when they start their career, either in supply chain or outside supply chain?
I think back to my point, I think it's enjoy the ride and learn as much as possible. It's very hard sometimes because the ambition and the emotional level that you leave the university is different. Sometimes you have, it's hard to manage the ambition. It's great to have the ambition, but the way is always more fun than the destination, always more fun, needs to be more fun. I remember a few times that I reached the position or the level that I would like to, and it was kind of empty when I got there finally. I said, okay, I got this, I reached that point. But what truly matters, I think, is how much you have learned in this process, how much you have fun with your team, with others, and how many people you were able to impact. And you don't need to be necessarily a leader with a big team. Leadership is the way you behave upwards with your peers, with others. It's not about having a big team. And I think this is a constant learning. Focus on the way. You can have joy on the way. It's not about the destination. Okay. I would spend more time on this.
Yeah. So going to the next subject, we always have some boardroom topics, and you probably have them as well. So what are the boardroom topics for supply chain within KraftHeinz at the moment?
I think there are a couple of them. I'll name it first, sustainability. It's in the hot topic of our agenda, and we are pushing extremely hard this agenda in the organization. The second one is diversity. I cannot rank them. I rank and stack first and second, but I think another topic that is very important for us is diversity, starting from diversity of thoughts and then goes all the way to gender and everything that touches this subject. And the third one is this concept of where I bucket everything together is digital agility, flexibility. It's very hard to draw the line across these different things. It's very trendy to talk about these different things today. But I would say from a supply chain and global perspective, I see those three things as the big ones that we have ahead of us.
And are they, let's say, are they linked to each other? You know, so for instance, can you become more sustainable as an organization when you apply digitalization properly? If you apply diversity in a good way, do you get also more sustainable? Are there, let's say, connections between the three at that level?
Absolutely. I think everything starts with the people, right? The people is the foundation for everything that we try to do. And I think the element of diversity is extremely important in line with if whatever we try to do that is in any area, not only supply chain, now diversity is something that we need to look in a completely different way than we have been looking at. And the other ones, and the ESG, the sustainability and digital, there is a clear correlation about this. And the approach that we are taking here is first, we are defining what digital means for us. Today, as I said, it's whatever magazine you open, whatever newspaper you read, the first word that comes out in the world of supply chain is digitalization. So for us, we have defined this in three very clear pillars. The first one is operational efficiency. The second one is flexibility. And the third one is ESG. This is helping us tremendously to set our strategic plan objectives as well as the roadmap for implementation, because our operation is in a very different maturity stage, comparing zones, geographies, categories. So under the umbrella of digital across these three pillars, we are in a different path of implementation in each of them. And this helps a lot to give clarity, to understand returns of investment, and to give speed and momentum to this agenda. Because if you try to put everything under one digital and move, it's very hard, because the way to look the return of investment in agility is very different than operational efficiency, which is very different than ESG. And the three of them are extremely important, ESG even more. So educating ourselves on what digital means, where we want to get and how, is the challenge. And I think today we have a very clear path on these three different buckets. And they are very, very much interconnected.
Does that mean also that over the last couple of years, the requirement for let's say, digital skills, digital savviness of the supply chain people also increased?
Absolutely, and very much. Today, the profile and the skill set of the ones that are on the development stage of the technology, we take always a very simple approach. It's people, process, and technology. When it comes to technology, the profile of the people, the developers, it's quite amazing. I mean, they can do amazing things, and they can solve completely different problems that we were not able to solve in the past. But the profile of the people also, that they need to work on the process side, which is an important element of digitalization. You cannot get to the technology if your process is not right, is also very different, which makes this universe very diverse. But yes, it's very interesting to see and to work with completely different profiles than the past on this agenda.
So if you look to sustainability, to close off this section a little bit, and I'm not sure if it's so, but does KraftHeinz have a special, let's say, VP or SVP for sustainability? Or is that more embedded into the organization that everybody is in a way a sustainability person?
No, we have developed the answer, a dedicated person to that is no. We have an area that is leading all the efforts and putting the different pieces together from the different functions. So in supply chain, I have a leader for that coordinate all the efforts across manufacturing, logistics, and procurement. And then on the sales side, on the R&D side, we also have representatives. They connect to each other under the umbrella of the government and corporate affairs. And by having this governance, we can have a clear picture of the whole then we, through the target setting cascading process in the company, we define the objectives and we can drill down to the different functions to the lowest level. And I think it's very efficient, to be honest. We have found the way to move ahead quite rapidly. Still a lot to do. I would say baby steps, but we now know exactly what is the direction.
Okay. So what has been the major achievement over the last couple of months on sustainability?
I think especially on the manufacturing side, we have put very, very ambitious goals since the beginning of last year in consumption, in landfill, in electricity, in utilities, and we've been tracking, monitoring those KPIs across all the facilities. We have made great progress, I would say, in the manufacturing side. On the value engineering side, when you look at procurement today, the usage of plastics and on the caps, on the bottles, is way different than it was a couple of years ago. So making this a very important platform for us, the value engineering. And then on the commercial side is the clean label, the recipes that we are producing, that is helping a lot. I think we have gained momentum a lot across different functions with good and solid steps. If you ask me, have you made a major step change and completely turn around the situation? Not yet, but I'm happy to see how we are moving in a coordinated fashion across the ESG in the organization. I think that's very positive for us.
I think sustainability, like diversity as well, it's like many years ago we had continuous improvement. It's not a process of 3 weeks that you run through the company and then it's done. It's a continuous cultural change that you have to be aware of, and everybody has to be part of it. It's not an individual or a separate team that runs the process. You have to safeguard, some people have to safeguard the process, but it's a joint effort for everybody.
Absolutely. These two things, they touch the very deep and profound aspects of the purpose of the company. It is not an action log or an action plan that you put and try to deliver, and next year it's over, that the target's gone. And I think the reason it takes more time than usual for organizations to move in this direction is because it does require more discussions. It touches the very, very core and the essence of the organization. And the ones that are able to move and to acknowledge the change earlier are the ones that are going to win faster. Because it's a big step change in mindset, in ways of working.
Exactly, So for the last question, Gustavo, I give you the magic wand and let you make some miracles. What would you like to change in your supply chain organization or yourself, which is not something that can happen nowadays overnight, but with a magic wand you can make it happen overnight. So what should that be? Well,
that's a good question. I would come back to the sustainability thing. I think if I could have all the power to change something in supply chain globally, it's not about KraftHeinz, but globally, would be the acceleration of this agenda. I would be tomorrow in a completely different, ways of working, much more environmentally friendly from sourcing to distribution, but truly making good to the planet. I think we are not there. As individuals, as society, I think our biggest change and our biggest challenge is how we're going to fight against climate change, how we're going to change the way we operate to safeguard the environment going forward. So that would be my big change. Hopefully you can give me this magic wand and I can make that happen.
Yeah, exactly. If we can do something good for the planet, that's always a fantastic thing to do, because we live on it, so we have to safeguard it a lot. Okay, Gustavo, I would like to thank you a lot for your time. I wish you all the luck the coming months with your work, but also with your personal life, and hopefully we'll speak to each other soon again.
Thank you very much, Edwin. Pleasure always to talk to you, and thanks for having me today.
Okay, thank you.